So I'm going to just kind of very quickly tell you what we do, and then we'll show you some pictures and tell you what's going on, the results of it. But when we started doing mission work, we visited a lot of different mission efforts as I was looking at places to start schools, and I discovered some things about the way we're doing mission work in the church. And as David said, I grew up in the church, and I have a pretty good feel for what we do generally in the Churches of Christ, and we're doing a good work. We're doing a lot of good, but we really don't have very many American missionaries, unfortunately, compared to a lot of denominations. We're really not doing much. But what I have found is that we go into these foreign countries, I'd meet American missionaries that had a good work going, and they baptize people, they start churches, but then it was time for them to come back to the U.S. And you know what happens when they left? When they come back to the U.S., you know what happens to that work? It dies. And I'd say at least 90% of the time that's what happens. The work just dies, because when the Americans come back, they bring the money with them. And unfortunately, locals were not trained to carry on the work. And so, so we decided, well, we need to start training the local people to carry on the work. And so we brought them to the U.S. to train them. We sent them to Harding, sent them to Brown Trail, or East Tennessee School of Preaching, or Memphis, or some of the various schools that we have. But you know what happened there? They don't want to go back home. And it's kind of hard to know what the percentage is, but based on what others have told me, more experienced missionaries, it looks like around 90% of the ones that come to America do not go back, which is astronomical number. And then the very few that do go back, there are some exceptions to that. Some do go back, but they've been Americanized, and they want health insurance and retirement plans and all of that. And so, so bringing them here is not the way to do it. So we take the school to them. They still need the training, but we establish the schools in their own country. And what we're finding out, and we're not criticizing American missionaries, we need missionaries, but really I think the better way is not only send American missionaries, but use those Americans to train the locals to take over that work. What we found out is the local people don't have to learn the language. See, we send an American to a foreign country, many times they have to spend literally years learning the language and getting used to it. And then there's the cultural challenges. I don't care if you lived in Africa 20 years, you are not an African. I had some friends, Americans, they think they're African and they're not. They're just not. They've been there 18 years, but they're not Africans. What we found is the culture thing is a real problem. And so we're finding the local people are really more capable of taking the gospel to their own people than we are as Americans going into a foreign country. They're just better at it. They know their people, and they know how to deal with them, and they're just better at it. So that's what we do. When I go to foreign countries, I do some Bible studies, but mostly what I do is train the locals, set up schools where we can train them. And it's not a new concept. Really, that's what 2 Timothy 2 and verse 2, when Paul wrote to Timothy there, he said, the things which thou hast heard of me among many witnesses, the same commit thou to faithful men, who shall be able to teach others also. So it's a biblical concept. It's just that we haven't really been doing much of this in the Churches of Christ, generally speaking, in mission work. These are places where we've established schools so far. As you can see, there's a lot of dots on there, but truthfully, there's a whole lot of map yet to be covered. Now this is over a 13-year period that I've been doing this. The big blue dot represents our home base in McDonough, Georgia, just outside of Atlanta. As far as I know, all of these schools are still in operation with the exception of the one in Montreal, Canada. It is shut down. But all the rest of these are still going. Now you'll see a little blue dot in China. I'm going to tell you a little more about that in just a little bit. But that's really not a typical school like we have in other places. But you see God's really blessing the work. And these are the schools that have started with World Bible Institute, where those blue dots are. This is the guy that changed my whole outlook on mission work. This is a man in Nigeria. They were needing help. Actually, this place in Nigeria, when they called me, they had 120 men that wanted to preach. They said, we need to train preachers. I said, you have 120 applicants. Well, we didn't have enough money to train 120 men. You have to feed them and house them and all of that. But I said, I'll come. And so we sat down with this brother there in Nigeria, and he made this statement that you just never hear in mission work. We need your help, but we don't want your money. Now that got my attention. That's the first time that's ever happened. And that really, I thought, that's great, but why don't you want our money? And he said, Brother Hamrick, the Church of Christ has been in Nigeria a long time. And there have been several preacher training schools started in this country. But when the Americans leave, the school dies. We don't want that to happen to our school, so we want to carry the financial load ourselves. I said, that's great, but how are you going to do that? He said, we have started a school, and this is the building being financed by African Christians, Nigerians. They started a children's school, and just long story short, they charge tuition just like a private school here in America. People there are poor, so they can't pay much, but you get enough people paying, a lot of littles add up. And so he said if we can get 100 students enrolled per year, within 3 years, that'll generate enough money to fully fund the preacher training school. I thought, man, that's a great idea. Why aren't we doing this? And so I said, well, what are you going to do with the students when they graduate? How are the preachers going to be supported? He said, well, we'll get American support for the preachers. I said, well, now you're going back to what you're trying to avoid. So we added to the program vocational training. In this particular school, they can learn welding or carpentry work, woodworking, computer, data entry, that kind of thing. I don't know if they've added, we were going to add small engine repair also. But so they study Bible Monday through Thursdays, and on Fridays they learn a skill so that when they graduate they can provide for their families and not need American support. So we ended up with 60 students there instead of 120. So it changed our mission philosophy completely after looking at that, because that was the problem we were having. Everywhere we go, we're always trying to raise money to support students and to support preachers after they graduate. And I'm telling you guys, if you know much about mission work in the Church of Christ, that's where most of our money goes, is supporting preachers overseas. We send money to preachers, and there's no end in sight. There's no exit strategy, there's no light at the end of the tunnel. We just have to keep pumping money into it or it's going to stop. And we can't evangelize the world doing that. We just don't have enough money to do that. We have it, but we're not giving it. But so anyway, I'm suggesting our work, we do it differently. All new work should be indigenous. If you know what indigenous means, it just means that if they're in India, we don't try to make them Americans. We respect their culture. They do things the way Indians do. If it's Africa, they do things the way Africans do, so forth and so on. But this is really the heart of what makes our program a little bit different. And I'm happy to say more and more churches are starting to do this now, because it's just the best way to do it. We try to design every mission effort we start to be self-supportive. So we look at ways to generate money locally to make it self-supportive. Secondly, we want it to be self-governing. That means they develop elders and leaders. We want for example, in Ghana, which will be the first one I'll show you here in a moment, we train those guys to take over the work so that we can pull out. We don't even need an American there. And they can do the work without us. And we want the churches to have elders so they can make their own decisions instead of us as Americans telling them what to do, which we oftentimes do. And third, we want them to be self-propagating. That means we want them to become missionaries themselves, where they not only are working with their area, but they're going into other places, other countries, other cities, and doing evangelism. And we're seeing that happen in most of the places where we've set up these programs. So it's going well. It's going better than we ever dreamed it would. The first place I want to talk to you about is the one in Ghana, because it's the most productive, and this is the one that David visited with me. This is a map of Ghana, which is West Africa. You see Togo to the right, and then Benin, and then Nigeria is a little further east there, to give you an idea where this is. The red area represents what's called the Volta region of Ghana, in East Ghana. And the brethren in East Texas, 2 congregations were working with that group of people there, and they asked me to come and help set up a preacher school. And I couldn't. My schedule was very busy. I was booked up. I said, I just can't go. And they said, you don't understand. We need preachers so bad. You got to go. And so they said, we'll pay for everything. Your airfare, all your expenses, your hotel, we'll pay for everything if you'll come and set up a school. So I moved some things around. I said, okay, I'll go. So I went over there to look at it, and this is what happened. In 4 days, we baptized 185 people. Most of them were Muslims. And boy, that really got my attention. I said, okay, I'm convinced you guys, this is a good place to train preachers here. So we established the Volta Bible College, and this is our first group of students. The men sitting in the chairs in the front are 4 of the 5 the faculty at the time. So this was our school that we started there, and so we're training these guys how to conduct Bible studies and how to preach. They already knew, many of them already knew some of the basic things. They were doing a good work. But here's what happened. The work just exploded. And the first year we had over 2,000 baptisms. We thought, well, that's a fluke. Well, the second year over 2,000. Now a third year over 2,000. Every year we have over 2,000 baptisms just from this one work. And if you want to do the math, that's on average about 170 baptisms per month. It's just, these guys are just working. They already had the zeal, they already had the love for the truth, they already had love for their people. They just needed some training. And they also, I don't know about this year, but at our second year, they established 23 new congregations also. Well, that's great. The problem is that's 23 more churches without a preacher. And you can't train preachers, you know, in 2 months. It takes time. So, so we're getting further behind. And you can't tell them to stop evangelizing. So what we did, I asked them, well, what do you do with these new churches? Who's preaching in these new churches? They said, well, we just find a man that's got leadership ability, and we give him a Bible, and he becomes a preacher. I said, you can't do that. That won't work. A new convert being the preacher, that's not going to work. So, I forgot about this slide. This is just a neat little fact I like to share. In the Volta region, East Ghana, the Muslims have been the fastest growing religious group for decades. Now the Church of Christ is the fastest growing religious group there. I'm real proud of that, and I'm excited to be able to say that. So we're making great headway. But here's what we're doing to make this self-supportive. I was going to tell you about the second school, but not quite there yet. David and Dana helped us with this to purchase 52 acres of farmland. And we're growing corn on it right now. Our plan is to grow red pepper, but things move really slow in Africa, and finances is part of the problem too. We really need a tractor. We've only cleared 10 acres, is all we've cleared. We need to clear the rest of it. We need a Massey Ferguson tractor. The reason Massey Ferguson is because they can get parts for it over there. They can work on it there. We've got a man that works with the Department of Agriculture for the country of Ghana, for the government, named Seth, and he's a member of the church. He's helping us with this, and he's been a tremendous help. But we really need a tractor. We can get a good used tractor. I've been told, now I'm not a farmer, so I'm relying on others for this, but a good used tractor with all the attachments that we need for about $10,000. Does that sound, anybody know about tractors? Does that sound about right? That's what I've been told, about $10,000. And then we've already got, the shipping is $6,000. I've got a brother who said, if you get a tractor, I'll ship it for you. So we've got the shipping covered, we just get a tractor. This is Sim, rather. Sim is the director of our School of Preaching. We purchased 3 acres, 3 more acres on the main road for where we'll build the new site for the Bible College. Right now we're using a very, very small room. It's just not adequate. So we're looking to build a new school. But that's the marker there. Nice looking guy, isn't he? He's a good man too, very good man. And there's Seth in the white shirt on the left. We just got a water well on that property, so we're excited about that. And that's of course paid for. Okay, here's the next school in Ghana. As I said, the work has exploded so much. I mean, so many people coming to Christ, so many churches being established that we had to train more preachers. And we didn't really, the facility we're using now is a small classroom at a church building, and we just didn't have room for more students. So we started a second school about an hour away from Ho in a place called Joj. I know that starts with a D, but it's pronounced Joj. And it's a part-time school because of funding. We can't afford another full-time school. So we decided to go part-time, and we started the East Coast Bible Institute with 10 more students. And so these guys come 2 weekends a month to get some training. We're just trying to get them, it's a 10-month program to give them the basics so they can take on the responsibility with these new churches. We just got to turn them out faster than what we're doing, so that's the reason too for the part-time program. We want to get them through as quickly as we can. We just had our first graduation with that group in January, and you know, I keep forgetting to change that. They already graduated in January, but Desire is the new administrator of the school. Desire is one of our graduates from the Volta Bible College, and so I told you a moment ago we're trying to build leaders so they can start taking over, and that's what's happened there. He was one of our better students, and it costs $34 a month to send a man through this program. So you see, it's very, very inexpensive. Now, this is an email I just got from him about a week ago, and I just thought I'd put it up on the screen for you because it's an incredible story. But Desire said this man, a denominational preacher named Apostle Emmanuel Tingu, he said he established many churches in Togo, and he came to Ghana. He started establishing churches here in Ghana, precisely Joj. We invited him to join our radio panel to discuss the Bible on the Nigba radio entitled The Truth Shall Make You Free. After the program, he said he would like to know more about the Church of Christ because he noticed that all we were saying were from the Bible, which is the truth of Christ. And there are differences in what they are doing. I think that should be compared to what the Scripture says. He asked if we have a school that he could be enrolled in order to learn the truth. Since East Coast Bible Institute is the session, we asked him to come and be part of the class to start learning till next year for him to be enrolled in the school. Since he is willing to study, he was happy to be part of the class. He said he will like his preachers also to be trained in our schools, and the churches should be converted to Church of Christ. He said for this to be easy, he must teach his pastors one after the other for them to understand the way of the truth, so they will not go to other churches when the time comes for them to change the churches. So here's a denominational preacher that comes to Joj. The local brethren there meet him, and they start studying with him, and he sees the Church of Christ use the Bible for everything that they do, and was very impressed by that. I think, yes, he and his wife has started worshiping with the Church of Christ there in Joj. He's finding the classes very interesting. He's happy to be studying in the school. So now, we really need some more funding. I don't know how many preachers this guy's going to bring into the school, but there's a whole host of denominational preachers now that want to come to school and be taught the truth. So when you convert a denominational preacher, that opens up the entire congregation now as our prospects. And these guys are honest. They want to do what the Bible says. So great opportunity there. But you can see why the church is growing as it is, because of the hearts of the people there. This guy on the left is named Mark Yabi in the white shirt with the black tie. Mark was one of our students at Volta Bible College, but he had to quit because the church that he was working with was suffering without him. Although we let him go home on weekends, he said he just couldn't, the church couldn't function without him, so he had to drop out of school. It was a shame because he was one of our better students. But there he is at our graduation. He came to see his fellow students graduate, and I said, Mark, how's your work going? And he dropped his head and he said, it's not going very well. I said, why is it, what's the problem? Why is it not going well? He said, we had 104 baptisms last summer, and we established 3 more congregations, and there's only 3 preachers, and so now I'm working with 6 congregations, and I can't keep up with 6. And I said, you know, Mark, in the United States, when we say the work's not going well, we usually don't follow that by saying we had 104 baptisms this summer. But that's what he meant. He said it's not going well because it is growing faster than he can keep up with it. So I was just in Ghana a couple of months ago and met with Mark, and he has 10 or 12 men that want to start preacher training school. And the program there, we can train a man, start a school there. We can support a student for $48 a month. It's an approximate cost to send a guy through a program up there. $34 a month for the East Coast Bible Institute. $2,000 to get the electricity set up at the building site. We need $300 for a water pump, and $10,000 for the Massey Ferguson tractor. If we get that tractor, I feel pretty confident that we can start really growing that red pepper. Oh, I didn't tell you this, but we've been working on this for a while to get this together. But we have Seth rather, has found 3 exporting companies that said, when you guys start producing that red pepper, we'll buy all you can produce. They're going to ship it to Europe. So that will make this work totally self-supporting. And what it does, everybody that works on this ranch, this farm, they're all members of the Church of Christ. And so it gives people jobs, and then they in turn can give more to the church, and the church can then support their own preachers. It's just a win-win situation. So everything's in place. It's just up to us to get that farm, get that land cleared. And we do have a water well on that land now also. Only 7% of all the agriculture in Ghana have irrigation. So we're really blessed to have water there. And that'll increase our production dramatically. Okay, let me take you to Port-au-Prince, Haiti. I think, did I send you guys the report on Haiti? Did you get my last report? I just sent it out. There's a hard copy there if you didn't get it. I brought it for you guys that didn't get that. But Brother Vixamar, Manius Vixamar, is from Haiti, and he's been asking for us to come and start a school for some time, several months actually. Finally, I met with him in Georgia, and we said we'd start a school February of this year. And so, so we started the school in February with 40 students. And here's what happened. They started a new congregation there. This is in Port-au-Prince, the capital city, in Haiti. I'm David.
I'm David.
Sam, thank you for coming, Sam. I know that you're busy because David told me you couldn't make it. You were tied up, so I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to be here. Sam, we just started talking about a new school in Haiti. This is actually Port-au-Prince. The new congregation is established. You see, it's just a metal building, corrugated metal with a wood frame. It's extremely hot. So, Fat Boy from Fort Worth didn't do too good in that heat, but they seem to manage fine. But here's people coming to study in the school. That's where they have classes as well. So we definitely need a better facility there. But here's what happened. They start the school in February with 40 students. Brother Vixamar is there teaching in the school with another man from Texas, was with him teaching. And the mayor from Pion, that's how you pronounce this, called and said, why don't you come to Pion? It's 4 hours north of Port-au-Prince. He said, you never come to Pion. And he said, I have several people here that want to be taught the gospel. Will you come? And so Brother Vixamar says, okay, I will come. When he got to Pion, they found 400 people waiting to be taught the gospel. There's not a Church of Christ in this city, by the way. Not one. So they find 400 people waiting to be taught the gospel. So they preached to that crowd of people for about 2 hours. Then they broke into smaller groups and conducted Bible studies. And the next morning, a denominational preacher came to him and said, I could not sleep all night because of what I heard you preach. And I want to study some more. So they studied with him some more, and he was baptized into Christ. Well, he told his other friends, and some others were there actually, that heard it. And long story short, before Manius and Brother Vixamar left Pion, 9 more denominational preachers were converted. And one of them has a congregation of over 500 people. And so my phone begins to ring. You've got to come we've got to come to Haiti. We've got all these denominational preachers that are studying, learning the truth, and obeying the gospel, and they've got lots of members that they want to teach this new truth, they call it. I said, I've got to go to Ghana. I said, as soon as I get back from Ghana, I will come to Haiti, and we'll see about getting some training for these new converts. And so, by the time I got to Haiti, 20 denominational preachers had been taught and converted. And so I get there, and while I'm there, 3 more obey the gospel. And so I go to the mayor's place, and we sit outside in a big circle, and we studied for hours and hours. And I'm just thinking, this is an incredible experience. All of these men are preachers, but they knew very little Bible. But one of the preachers said, we just love this new teaching where we all preach the same thing and that we're all part of the same church. I said, well, it's really not new. It's in the Bible. It's biblical. They said, well, it's new to us. And one preacher said, well, I've lost some members by preaching this new message. But he said, we're going to stick with the Bible. No matter what, we're only going to preach what the Bible says. If people leave, they leave. And so that's what they've been doing. So now there's 23 converted there. And the mayor has a bank building that he owns, well, a bank that went under, so the bank building's empty. And he told Brother Bixmore, you can use that to train preachers in that building. So he gave us a building to use. But then it gets better. The mayor called a couple of high-ranking officials to come and meet with Brother Bixmore. And there's some of the men that were converted. I'm getting ahead of myself. Okay, here's the problem. I've got these other schools. We got to send people over there to train these men, and they need training right now. I found a school of preaching, the northern port of Haiti, in a place called Cappatia. It's the Capatian School of Preaching. It's the Church of Christ institution, and I've recruited their help. And so, starting in September, they'll be coming down to Pion to take over the training for us. So they're going to train these men, and we're very thankful for that. Here I am with the faculty, or part of the faculty. Here's what gets better. The mayor called a couple of politicians, met with Brother Bixmore, and said that we have a land grant program here in Haiti. We're very impressed with the Church of Christ. We want to give you 400 acres to do anything you want with. 400 acres. Now Haiti is 85% mountainous. So to get flat land like that is a real blessing. So they just literally gave us 400 acres. And Brother Bixmore said, well, I work with World Bible Institute and we like to train preachers. And so he said, well, you can build a preacher school here if you want to. In the meantime, you're welcome to use this bank building until something more permanent can be done. So you see God's hand working here. It's incredible. Not even a Church of Christ in this place. And now you've got all these new converts, and we've got 400 acres given to us. The bank building, there's the mayor in the middle. Look at that t-shirt. I thought that was kind of comical. Operation Desert Storm. But I will say this, I have sent some Americans over after I went to help with the teaching and training. One brother was from Bahamas that went over there to teach, and while he was there, he taught and baptized the mayor. So now the mayor's a member of the church, and all of his family now have obeyed the gospel, so they're all members of the Church of Christ. And the man on the right is Gage Coldwater. He is an A&M guy, still studying at A&M actually. But I've never met anybody that knows as much about agriculture as he does. And so he heard what was going on. He said, let me come and help. So he came and looked at the 400 acres, and he's already developed a great plan of how we can make it self-supportive using that land to generate money locally. So we won't have to have American money forever to do this work. As it develops, then we'll have the funding eventually. So our needs right now are Bibles for the students. Some of them don't even have Bibles. Although I guess I can erase that because while I was in Harding this weekend, I got a phone call from World Bible Institute. Said they got a check for over $4,000 from a church in the Nashville area to pay for books for the school and Bibles, for not just the students but for people there. So we're thankful for that. But we need support for those guys that have started school. $70 a month to train a student in that school. And you notice the numbers are different for these schools. Some of them are full-time, some are part-time, but the vast majority of the money that we ask for support is for food. We don't charge any tuition, everything's provided free, but we have to buy food, we have to feed these guys. And so most of that money goes for food. Some of it goes for class materials, but mostly it's for food and travel for them to do evangelism while they're in school. Very quickly, this is China. I'm real excited about the doors opening for us in China. God's really blessing that work. I went to Hangzhou, China, went through Shanghai and then to Hangzhou. It's hard to know because so many churches meet privately in China, but there's somewhere between 300 and 500 churches of Christ. And this is what it looks like. They meet in hotel rooms, people's homes, just the sweetest, sweetest people. Here's a mother teaching her daughter a song, and I just love that picture. It's just so wonderful to know that people in China are sharing the gospel with their kids and their friends. This man is Eric Tan. He's been a missionary to China for many years. He lives in Singapore. When we started working in China, Eric came from Singapore to Atlanta for our China conference. He's been a great deal of help to me. I just visited him a few weeks ago. I was in Philippines, went by to see him in Singapore. I said, Eric, China's just an incredible opportunity, but we're not doing enough. We can't set up a school in China like we do other places. It's still very dangerous. We have Americans that go over and they teach in the universities, usually teaching English, using the Bible, which is good. Then we have others that are using Skype to teach people through their computers, which is also good. But that's a drop in the bucket. I mean, there's so many people over there that are interested in studying. And I told Eric, I said, brother, I'm not criticizing what y'all are doing. I'm just saying we need to do more. We need to do better. And I think the key is not trying to get more Americans to go over there. The key is train those people. Train the local people how to do it, and they can train their own people. And duplicate. You remember that commercial? What was it? A shampoo commercial or hair? You know, you tell your friends, they tell their friends. It's the same basic idea. We train those locals, they teach others, and it just spreads. We don't have to keep sending Americans. And that's costly as well, and it's dangerous. But, so Eric, he's a good man. And he said, David, you're absolutely right. I agree 100%. And he said, actually, I think we can do what you want to do. And I was suggesting we need to get these people together, set them in a classroom, and teach them. And I said, I don't know how to do that in China. And he said, actually, we can. He said there's 2 months in the summer, July and August, that they are out of school and they're free. And he said, I guarantee you I can get 50 to 60 to 70 people to come for school during that 2-month period. He said you'd have them all day, every day for 6 weeks at least. I said, man, we could do a lot of teaching. We have them 6 or 8 hours a day studying the Bible and teaching for that many weeks. So that's what we're going to do. He said there's also a week in October. I just got a phone call, an American that just moved over there named Matthew Moore. He's in China now. He's in the States right now, but he's fixing to go back in, I think, this week. I talked to him, and he said, actually, there's another time period in end of January, first part of February, where they have about 6 weeks break, kind of like our spring break. And he said, I guarantee we can get a lot of students to come then, too. So that's in a place called Wuhan. And I said, well, that's what we'll do. So the first part of next year, we're going to start these classes in Wuhan. The red dots, this is our plan. Where those red dots are, those are the 4 major cities where I have contacts that those men have already agreed they're going to gather students together for July and August. So I'm trying to recruit men now to go over and teach during that time period. You see Wuhan, the far left red dot. That's where Matthew Moore is. We're going to go ahead and go there in end of January, first part of February, and do a small school to kind of see how it works, see how it goes. But Matthew, as soon as he gets back next week, he said he'll start organizing that. The blue dots represent the next phase, the other cities where we also have contacts where we can put more schools in. So our plan is to train the locals through these schools. week in October, 4 to 6 weeks in the end of January, then 6 to 8 weeks in July and August. So I think we can do that. We'll see how it works, but please be praying about that. But I'm convinced that's the only way we're going to evangelize China right now, is to train lots of local people and let them share the gospel. Because it's dangerous. You know, we're talking about, you said your daughter is over there. Yeah, you have to be careful. It depends where you are. Some places are more strict than others. But okay, so what we need for the China work is we need teachers that will go and teach, and we need senders to send people over. And more than anything, we need your prayers, because it's an incredible opportunity. And I guarantee the devil does not want us to do that. Okay, this is the last one I want to tell you about. This is our most recent school. I guess it's about the same time as the Haiti school. We just started it this year. Baguio, Philippines. This is Edwin and Diane Bacani. Edwin was a pharmacist. His wife Diane was a doctor. Her dad was a gospel preacher, a very successful, highly respected gospel preacher that passed away just a few years ago. And they were both very successful people. They had money saved up, and they decided they were going to totally quit and go full-time into the ministry to carry on her father's work. And so Edwin asked if I would come and start a school. Said the people are very receptive, but we need to train some people to preach. So I did. Went over there and we started what's called, they call it the Restoration Bible Institute. I'm not sure why they wanted that name, but that's what they wanted to call it. I just got back from there. This is Robert Dotson, who went with me on the trip to teach in the school. Robert is the preacher at the Northwest Church of Christ, and also he's the speaker on the Truth and Love television program, if you ever see that Brown Trail puts out. Excellent preacher, a great teacher, and here he is teaching the students. This is Brandon Ferguson. He's the deacon in charge of missions at Northwest. And he had never preached in his life. He had never taught a Bible study to anybody in his life. And we got over there, and Brandon, you see him baptizing someone here. He taught one family. We had 18 baptisms. 9 of those, half of those, was actually from one family. Brandon went and studied the Bible with this man and his family. And there were some other kids that were just too young to understand, to be accountable. But the man, his wife, and their older children were all baptized into Christ. And I told him, I said, Brandon, I've been doing this a long time, and I'm telling you, that's almost unheard of. Except if you read it in the book of Acts, you see it all the time. You know, so-and-so in their household, Cornelius in his household, that happened a lot. But that's what changed Brandon's life. And he's all fired up now. But we had 18 baptisms in a short visit while we were there. This school started January 14th of this year. That number says 108 baptisms. Well, that's wrong. The other day I told you 129. I got an email today. Well, I forgot now how many baptisms they had. They also do a camp for young people, and I just kind of glanced over the report. I can't remember now how many baptisms. It seems like it was 7 or 10, something like that were baptized during the camp. But as you can see, that's a lot of baptisms for a program that's just starting. And so we're really proud of the work. Oh, and what they do, they have a radio program every night for 2 hours. And I got to speak on the program. It is absolutely unlike anything I've ever seen. They just speak for a few minutes, and then they open up the phone lines. Mostly it's people texting Bible questions. They'll text in a question. Edwin said one night they had over 500 text questions. So what they do, they answer the questions right over the radio. And so we got our Bibles and we answered the Bible questions. Then he tells them on the air, he says, we didn't get to all the questions. So if you'd like to come worship with us at the Church of Christ, we meet at this time at this place. Come and visit us. Every Sunday they have visitors. Then he says, if you would like to know more about the Bible, if you'd like to study more, come to Restoration Bible Institute, and there'll be someone there to teach you. We were there 10 days, every day, without exception. Every day, people came to the Bible Institute to learn more. That's how they're getting the context in their Bible studies. It's unbelievable. It's remarkable. One group, several teenage girls all came together. They're all friends, and they all came. to study the Bible. So it's a great work. This is a baptistry at a different church. They have to drive to baptize people, so we need to get a baptistry for them. This building is a brand new building where we have the school. We're renting it for $350 a month. It's pretty cheap. So, but they had no bookshelves. A lot of people donated books, so we paid this man $30 to build us some bookshelves. And there's the bookshelves finished. You see the books on the shelves. The students enjoying those books. There's another bookshelf. Still need some more books, but we're off to a good start there. Here's something else we're doing at the Restoration Bible Institute. Are y'all familiar with Mission Printing out of Arlington? Well, they have shipped stuff over there for us actually to Manila. And so we sent a bunch to Edwin. They went to Manila and picked it up. But what's happening, churches now, churches of Christ in the region, are coming to the Bible Institute for free material. And so here's one of the students boxing up the material. And this preacher drove 4 hours to come and get some free material to help with his work because there's just not any available there. So the school is serving a lot of functions, a lot of purposes there. Now here's how this is the easiest one of all to be self-supportive. We looked at that brother that's I said it's from Texas A&M. He suggested we grow strawberries, so there's a great market for it. I looked into that. Strawberry, the land was so expensive, there's no way we could do that. So someone else came up with an idea of vans. When we flew into Manila, we had to drive to Baguio's about 5 hours. We had to rent a van, and it was $200 a day to rent that van. And so they said, oh yeah, people do that all the time. Manila's capital city, everybody goes there. $200 a day, we figured it up. By the time you pay the driver and the gas and maintenance and insurance, you profit about $80 a day with that van. They said they could easily rent that van out for 15 days out of the month. So let's just say 12 to be conservative. If they can rent the van out 12 days out of the month, that's about $1,000. It's costing about $2,000 a month to run this program. So 2 vans, and it'll be self-supported. I mean, that's how simple this is. Somebody said to me, and that price is probably closer to $18,000 for a van, but we did find one for $15,000. But anyway, someone said, well, David, you're not thinking about upkeep. What if the van breaks down? What if something happens to it? You're going to have to pay to get it fixed. Well, we got that covered. One of the most dedicated members of the church there owns an auto repair business. And he said, I will keep the vans running for free. So you just can't beat that. So basically, for somewhere between $30,000 and $36,000, we can make this work totally self-supportive. I don't know what you guys know about mission work and what it costs to do mission work, but I'm telling you, $36,000 is nothing. It costs more than that to send one family over, an American family somewhere, and then support them on a monthly basis. There's no American over here. They don't need an American. These guys are doing a great job evangelizing these people without Americans, except for the money. They need help. So we got the school started, and now we just need to help make it self-supported. So, and I think that's pretty much it. Oh yeah, here's what it costs to support a guy through that school, $94 a month. There's the $18,000. It's really more likely what we need to be more realistic to get a good van for that work. But I visited a church in the Dallas area a few years ago. They told me that they had put, I might be wrong, I thought they said millions of dollars over a long period of time into mission work. They said, David, we have never had these kind of results. We have pumped money into mission work. And they said, if we stop sending the money, that work will die right now. It's totally dependent on our money. And so this is how we need to do it. We've got to set these schools up. And I believe this is the best way to reach the people. I think we can evangelize the whole world this way. Training the locals to teach their own people to do it. If we continue to do it the same way we're doing, you know that the definition of insanity, you've heard that, haven't you? Doing the same thing and expecting different results. Well, that's what we're doing. We keep doing the same thing over and over. sending Americans over and supporting them, and that's not a bad thing. I think that's a good thing. But I think we need to take it to the next step and train the locals and make these works self-supported. So once it gets self-supported, like this work in Philippines, we had $35,000 thereabouts. That would be it. Now, I'm not saying they would never need any more help. I don't know. We don't know what would happen. But based on what we have set up now, $2,000 a month will totally support that work. 2 vans will do that. And if we get a 3rd van, that would increase the amount of income. They have more students. So the building's only $350 a month. And so there's plenty of guys that want to be trained. So it's just, we try to keep the money low, where it doesn't cost that much, and we get a lot of bang for our buck. And so you've seen this, literally, we have literally thousands of people every year coming to Christ through this approach. And it's mostly local people doing the evangelism. The only thing we have Americans doing is going over and doing the training. They teach in the schools. It's a great work. It's been very successful. But this is encouraging when you see members of the church, individuals, that in your heart you're saying, hey, you know, I'd like to look at what we might be able to do in addition to what we're already doing. And so that's why I appreciate you coming here tonight. And it's no secret, I need your help. I need some financial assistance. But as you can see, it's just not going to take an awful lot to get some of these works to be totally self-supporting.